Good morning, everyone. Welcome to this episode 8 of In Conversation with me. And today my guest is Loobna Kamroodien, a young lady who also comes from Cape Town, and she's still in Cape Town. But an interesting fact about her on this Youth Day is that she was born in the year that I went to school, when I started school. So that will give you an idea of how young she actually is. You all know that I celebrated my 50th birthday last year. Today we're going to be chatting about things like career progression, challenges, and also all the interesting stuff that Loobna has done in her recent years. She runs a book club for orphans, if I get that correct. And she's just done amazing stuff. So I think in keeping with the theme of ordinary women doing extraordinary things, you will find that Loobna is one of those ladies. And I look forward to her sharing with us her experiences and all the things that she has done, and also her learnings from those experiences. So let's kick it off. Welcome, Loobna. I'm so glad to have you on the show. Thank you for responding to my request for guests. And you are my first guest from my public outreach. So a very, very warm welcome to you to our show.
Thank you so much, Suzanne. I'm honestly very excited to be here. It's a type of platform that I also resonate with, women doing extraordinary things and empowering other women as well. It's definitely close to my heart. So thanks for having me as well.
You're welcome. Now, tell us a bit. You told me that you grew up in Grassy Park. Now, interestingly enough, I grew up in a place called Wetton. So Grassy Park is literally down the road from where I grew up. Yeah. So tell us a bit about growing up, your experiences, and just being a child of the Cape Flats like me.
It's so funny that you say child of the Cape Flats, because I heard of the Cape Flats, but growing up I never knew I lived in the Cape Flats.
Well, that's the same with me. I learned to own it very late in life.
So same with me. I'll be honest, like I didn't really realize that, living in Grassy Park is a thing, or that, that I live with my fellow gangsters. So, I know you've got international viewers as well. So just for them, Grassy Park is not exactly the safest area in Cape Town, South Africa. And to be honest, like I actually remember my parents being held up at gunpoint at the age of 8, and even as far as as recent as last year as well, they were also held up. People breaking into their homes and stuff like that. So that is actually the reality of living in an area like that, and also what you would probably guess from realizing that I lived in that area was that I obviously didn't come from a wealthy family, so my parents struggled, and they worked really hard in order to sort of get my sister and I, with 2 kids, to get my sister and I to where we are today. And to be honest, like you were saying now, Grassy Park, or living in the Cape Flats, or being a child of the Cape Flats was not something that you came to terms with, like in your youth, but it's something that you only came to term with later on. And the same is actually true for me. To be honest, like because I went to my father made sure that there was one thing that he was very passionate about, and that is my sister and I should have a really good education, and that we need to educate ourselves and get out of our situation and live a better life than what my parents do, and he definitely achieved that.
Just before you go forward, just tell our viewers and listeners where you are at. Where do you find yourself in your life now, so that they can understand why we are talking about our Cape Flats roots and why that is important For us, I mean, for me, the theme is about empowerment, and more particularly self-empowerment, as I am the self-empowered woman. But I want them to understand why we are going to start at the Cape Flats, your Cape Flats roots, and why we're taking it further, especially on Youth Day, where education and just progress is important in life, and why the story, while our viewers and listeners are from across the world, the fundamental is that you can go from nothing to doing something with your life. So just tell them where you are at right now,
Okay.
and then we'll go back.
Okay, so I am an HR professional. I'm an HR business partner. I work for an international company, but that's what I do. That's my day job. That's not the whole of me. That doesn't define me, as much as I enjoy it as well. And I think that's also why I say it doesn't define me. That's what motivated me to do something more, because I was questioning myself, and I said that I don't want to be known as Loobna, the HR girl or the HR professional. Like that, there must be more to life than just that. Like I can't be working 9 to 5 and then that's it, and then switch on Netflix and then go sleep, and then so. And then that motivated me to start a book club as well. But I've been involved in a lot of outreach programs throughout my years from school days already. And I think that's one of the reasons why I didn't really realize that I'm a child from the Cape Flats, because I was surrounded by people that actually had a lot less than I did. So it didn't make me feel like I was poor or that I come from a poor background. And so one of the things that I do is I run a book club for a children's home that's very close to. I have like 2 sessions, one for the older children and one for the younger kids, because obviously there's different levels. And like my main motivation for that is to instill a love of reading in kids, because what I find with reading is that especially when you come from an underprivileged background, that it's very difficult to dream big. And it's very difficult to, thinking about even overseas, right? I travel quite a lot now. And one of the other things that I do, I'm jumping around, but the other thing that I do is I have a travel blog, because I've been traveling quite a lot. My travel blog is called Trip Tease Traveling. And I just need to state that because it's a family show. Trip Tease Traveling. And it's basically the world through my lens, and what I enjoy, and the culture and the food as well. And what I realized even growing up is that I didn't dream big. I didn't dream that I would go overseas, because it just wasn't a reality at the time. So it's just it didn't come up, it didn't factor in my life. And so with the kids as well, one of the reasons why I'm pushing for them to read and to enjoy reading is so that they can dream bigger, and so that they can explore worlds that they physically can't see, but through reading they can do those kinds of things. So that's in our theme
as well. Please share your links with us. We will put those links in the comments after the show. And welcome, Ada. Thank you for joining us live. Okay, so here we have this HR professional working for an international company, a book club owner or host, I don't know how you say it, host, and a travel blogger. So how did you go from, can I say it, the Cape Flats girl?
Because I'm Dubby from the wood. I own it with a badge now. I always tell people I'm from the wood.
How did you go from that, the Cape Flats girl, to the international traveler and blogger? I think an HR practitioner as your day job. So I think our listeners and viewers would be really interesting. I found your story quite motivating. And I'm sure that particularly now for young people, with the growing unemployment rate due to, our depressed economy before COVID, now COVID making it even worse. There's generally just a state of depression and anxiety and frustration in South Africa. And we know it's not unique to South Africa, but it is possibly more pronounced here because of our various historical challenges. And yeah, so I would like on this Youth Day for someone who's literally half my age um, to tell us how did you what took you from there from the Cape Flats girl not knowing that she's not knowing the possibilities of being able to travel and do the things that you're doing now to actually where you are. I mean, that surely did not happen overnight.
I know it definitely didn't. And I think that I think honestly the one thing that my parents taught me and that I still hold dear is this idea of education being the key to get you out of your current circumstances. And also I think that the other thing that motivated me as well is that, okay, I didn't know what was out there. I didn't know what the possibilities were. But what I did know is that you aren't defined by your past and you aren't defined by where you come from. You are defined by where you're going, you know? And so,
Loobna, just tell us how did you come to that realization? I mean, that is what I teach mostly in my coaching programs, and for adults, it's really hard to grasp that kind of concept. And you usually have to. I mean, I've learned lately that you can't just tell them. You have to
show
show
them.
them, guide them how you get there, which is a very difficult process because of my own background. I mean, I'm a lawyer by training, so you tell it like it is. But what
Yeah.
I've realized is that people need to actually um, be guided and be drawn into that concept. How did you draw yourself? Where did you draw the inspiration from? And how did you come to that realization that actually you are more than your circumstances and that you need to look forward even when you didn't know what the possibilities were? I think that's a very important perspective for our listeners and viewers to understand.
Yeah, and I think it's quite a complicated question as well. As very, I think honestly, it's not like there isn't this, follow these three steps, and you will get there. I think it was a process. It's a process, and I think that, and I hope that I'm able to answer your question here. And feel free
Well,
just
it's
to.
really I want your process. How did you do it? Because we learn from each other. So for me, it's about it's how did you come to that realization? What steps did you take? It's not a textbook. I'm just because I think it's very important. Listeners and viewers, everybody has their own path. This is not comparing, but what we can do and what we should do is learn from each other and take the best from each other and develop our own way of doing things. I just find it from my perspective, I find it interesting that as a young person, you were able to identify that at that young age. Very few people are able to do that at that age.
So I think it was maybe maybe even in school I still saw myself as this grassy park girl, but it was just that I knew that I needed to do well at school because I needed to get into university and I needed to get a degree and I needed a job. So I needed to get myself out of that. It was this drive to actually be independent as well. And in doing so, in actually doing well at school and managing to get like a scholarship at universities for university, I ended up being surrounded by other people who are very ambitious and who so even though I didn't have those opportunities or knew what those opportunities were, the people around me did know what they were, and I learned from them. And I think the biggest thing that I also would advise, and the thing that I've learned a lot from is that you are the company that you keep. So if you surround yourself by very talented, very positive, very nurturing people, you tend to become like that, or they expose you to those kinds of worlds. So it's very important, I think, number one, especially if you come from the Cape Flats background or a similar kind of background, to basically surround yourself with people who are doing things, who are doing more, and then they sort of give, it's like a permission effect, right? So they sort of give you the permission to also do something great. They give you the permission to also do well, so even like being competitive, having friends at school or university and sort of having like that friendly competition as well, you motivate each other to do better. And I think that it's very important to surround yourself with people who actually want what's good for you as well. Not for people that are secretly watching in the background and hoping that you fail. It's important to, and that's why I like these kinds of platforms, this whole idea of empowering women, and not only women as well, but empowering each other, because I feel like people actually, that's why I feel like people like, like you and like the people that I do surround myself with, they push you to actually be better, and they push you to actually know what's out there, that's a very big thing.
Yeah, Naima says, that's why I'm glad that we're surrounded with people like you and Imran. I'm sure that's one of your friends and followers.
Yes,
Yes. I think, Loobna, you have just mentioned a very important aspect and a philosophy that I teach to my coaching clients as well, because I deal with people who are building businesses, and building a business is actually like building your life. And I think what you said is very important in terms of, and it's actually absolutely so critical. Lots of people feel, but my spouse or my this or my that doesn't support me in my business ventures. But what you said is surround yourself with like-minded people. Surround yourself with people who are doing better than you. And
Yes.
It's not because of competition. It is because those people actually motivate you, and they stretch you to do better, to do more. And they also, that saying, you're right, you are the sum total of the 5 or 7 people that you surround yourself with. When my coach told me to look at who was around me, I realized that I needed to actually surround myself with people who were not going to bring me down, but actually kick me out of my comfort zone. Because that's what I needed at the time. And I think that's such an important, viewers, that is such an important lesson. So you can see whether you at 50 or at 20 something, the same applies. Surround yourself with people who would support you, encourage you, but also not be afraid to tell you the truth.
Exactly.
And I think that is very important.
And I have to say, like, so just to give you context to that comment from Imran's actually my husband, and I'm very lucky. I wouldn't say lucky. I mean, lucky in the context of the types of support people tend to have. Like, my husband's extremely supportive. In fact, he always makes a joke and says that I'm waiting for Loobna to make it big and famous so that I can be a home husband. And he's very.
That's not unrealistic. There are lots of women who do want to retire their husbands. It's very interesting to hear a South African man say that. I must be honest with you.
Not a South African man, only a South African Indian man. And I don't know if you understand that. Like, if you understand the Indian community, then you'll understand why that's such a big thing to say. And why I say I'm lucky. So as a feminist, I would say that, no, I'm not lucky, that we should be treated equally. You know what? It's not, but given the context, and, that is an Indian man, and, that he says things like that. I mean, even something like as small as, if he actually taught me, and even my mother-in-law, so she never actually put this pressure on me that just because you are the wife, that you need to cook, And even my husband also, he didn't have that. I mean, I grew up from a very traditional, come from a very traditional Indian background. And that's why I also like hone in on the fact that my father pushed for education, because that's very non-traditional in an Indian background. And also this whole idea of, your mother-in-law telling you, no, you don't need to cook, and your husband telling you, no, you're more than that. And, that's this idea of being fed. We're both adults. We both have the responsibility to feed ourselves. It's not your duty, because if you're spending all that time in the kitchen and cleaning the house and having a baby factory and stuff like that, like, when are you going to actually get the time to sort of grow and to learn new things, and that be an equal relationship, and it's not, that's, it's not all on you. So
yeah, that's amazing. That really is amazing. As you say, for our international viewers, I think they may not understand the complexities of the kind of society that we grew up in. It's multi-layered. It is certainly very diverse. And I think one of the issues that we spoke about is actually the pressures as women that we face, not just from a societal, external societal context, but actually in our homes, in our families, from the cultural and religious backgrounds that we do come. We are taught to be subservient. We are taught to be, the man is the head of the household, and actually defining that in the modern world is difficult for some. And so you and your husband are role models for young people as to how you can still be true to who you are, but give yourself the space to be who you are, if you understand what I mean. In terms of, you are individuals, you are not defined by just religion and just your place in society in terms of ranking, because I know the Indian community is quite hierarchical as to, you must know your place.
We can actually have a whole conversation about that, and I would be very happy to illustrate it and explain why I rebel very hard against that.
No, I fully understand. When I'm talking multicultural, I'm like, I have Indian family from Durban and Saudi Arabia in my blood, so I know what you're talking about. I discovered this when I was doing my own genealogy chart, and the other bits and pieces of the family are like Dutch and all of that. It explains my multicultural look, but it does make for a very difficult a difficult journey for women trying to find their own place in the world. And I think, tell us a little bit more about, you touched on education, how you were determined to get to university, and then you got your degree, you got things, and then what happened? I think there are some messages. Let me just look. Ada says, that is so true. My tribe are like-minded as well. You can't have negativity around you. I want to pave the paths for my kids to also be engaged with positive and like-minded people. So true.
Yes.
Charmaine says, support structure is the most important. Retired my husband 10 years ago and won't be able to have achieved without what I have without his support. Well done, Charmaine. I think you should come and tell us how you retired your husband. Would love to have you on the show. And please drop your details in the comments and I'll be in contact.
Yeah, I actually know Charmaine. Charmaine is really amazing. I've worked with her before. She's a leader in her field as well. Also very passionate about education as well. Yeah. So you're talking about,
behind every strong woman stands a strong man, or lots of coffee. Charmaine. Lots of cups of coffee, or let's say, and lots of cups of coffee, and a tribe of like-minded women.
Yes, I think also, but you don't need that strong man to be that strong woman. I think Yes, it helps. And I mean, I've got a very strong, very supportive husband. And I think that has also sort of helped me accelerate to where I am today, because I'm not having to sort of motivate to him why I can't do certain things, or why, he's not threatened by my success. He's not threatened by me wanting to soar, So I do think that, it really helps a lot. But it's not that you need that strong man in order to actually be a strong woman.
And also, I want to just add on to what Loobna's saying and what Shemaine is saying in terms of we are not bashing men in the show. What we focus on here and what I focus on, particularly with the show, is to show women that you can actually be empowered and you can empower yourself
Yes.
and do things. You don't need to be dependent. Not that you don't need the emotional and the collegial support. I'm not saying men are all bad. What I am saying is that in order for you to be a good partner, a good wife, a good business colleague, you actually have to be able to stand in your own self.
Yeah.
And that's when we talk about self-empowerment. That's what we're talking about. So in order for you to be a better wife, a better partner, you actually have to know who and what you are. And it helps when the partner in your life actually supports you.
Yes.
It's not always necessary, but it does help. And it helps you be the best person that you can be. So, anybody listening, we are not about bashing men. We are just about focusing on empowering ourselves to be the best woman and person that we can be in this very, very trying time, and also going forward.
And yeah, I totally agree as well. Like, I mean, it's my husband that has that has really also pushed me to go as far
Thank you,
as.
Ada.
Okay.
It's very
Yeah.
well said to them.
Yeah. And also, I mean, even if when I'm going to talk about my job searching, challenges as well, you'll find that it wasn't a woman that actually gave me a chance. It was a man. So it's not I completely agree. I dislike this notion of, man bashing. I don't believe that that's what you need to do. It's about lifting each other up and empowering each other, male, female as well. Yeah. And
Well,
so,
Loobna, I've got more than 25 years career experience with you. And I can tell you the best mentors in my life, the best people who gave me the opportunities and the support were actually male.
yeah.
So even though I had female colleagues, they were more threatened and saw me as competition and did their level best to make sure that I didn't succeed.
Yeah.
So we do have those. It's unfortunate, ladies, that we do not support each other in the way that we can. But what I did was I sort of thought, that's why I was interested in how did you keep that mindset and that determination despite the obstacles. As I always say, I was lucky because I had the support of my bosses, my colleagues who wanted me to succeed. But it's not always the case. And I think in your case, you've had more experiences to have had women push you down than what I
Yeah.
have had.
I definitely did. And I actually don't want to sort of focus on them too much because, like they are non-existent in my life right now. And I choose to actually focus on the people that lift me up. But I will actually sort of
Yeah,
touch
I think what's important from that is the lessons that you learned and the experiences that it gave you. Because I always say whatever experience usually actually molds you. So I
Yeah.
wouldn't want I don't want you to bash them. It is what it
Yeah.
is, but you certainly learned from that experience as to what not to do and how to go about things yourself.
Yes. So yeah, and I mean, I think a lot of these lessons I learned from also, yes, from being burnt by other people, as well as when I just started my own business recently, and that is when I've had to interact with other people that are also sort of in business. Um, and I think that I think the other thing that I haven't really mentioned yet that I do. So the travel blogging is a little thing, a little part of my life, and the book club is also a little part of my life. But the bigger part of my life is also my passion project, and that is, and I'll feed into that, but that is my Loobna.com business, where I focus on career assistance and guidance, and specifically around helping people with their CVs and, uplifting, doing a CV facelift, because I work in the industry. I know exactly what they're looking for, and also sort of interview coaching, giving people the confidence to go out there and to also understand, what are the things that they're doing wrong in the interviews and why aren't they being called back. So I think that a lot of the lessons I also learned was just through starting this business, and I didn't know a lot, like even this whole thing about empowering other women and stuff. It's something that I became a lot passionate about.
Amazing work. Thank you. I want to just tell the viewers there that, a couple of months ago, I met a lady in the US who was a career coach, and I appeared on her show and talking about, my own experience as an executive about recruitment and interviewing people. And at the time, and this was just a couple of months ago, and we've remained good friends after that, but she asked me about career coaching. And I actually said to her, I've never come across someone like that in South Africa. So, and she's also a former corporate executive who left like me. So, I didn't know that there were people in South Africa that did it. So I think it's a very essential service. Because one of the things that I said to her was that, my frustration with interviewing people were that they were so focused on getting the job that they forgot to actually interview me as the boss, and find out if they would actually be able to work with me. I found it very frustrating when I started asking them, ask me questions, that they would say no. And then I would tell them, I'm this, I like this way, I like this way. Would you be able to work with someone like that? I think making people realize that an interview process is actually a conversation, because you've got to decide whether you can actually work with the person that's interviewing you, or it's not just a one-way street. That was one of my frustrations as an executive, that because I have had this reputation of being quite a tough boss, but I'm also quite caring, and I want to develop people. So it is important that that people look at both sides of the coin when they join. So I'm very excited, and I would encourage you to keep going with your business and build it, because it's a very, very necessary service. People don't realize how important it actually is. It's not just about going to the interview and getting there. It's about assessing whether because you're making a choice, like a long-term choice.
That's
so
true.
Please tell us about what you do there.
And so basically, and I think it's funny, I didn't really see myself as a career coach or something. It really stemmed from a need. And that need also came out when I was looking for jobs, as a graduate. And, and then I had a 6-month internship as well, and looking for jobs there. So, so going through that process twice. And then also at some point I was outside of HR and I wanted to get back into HR. So I went through this process 3 times, as a graduate, looking for a job and realizing, how difficult and how tough the market is. And then I think, and I also think that, and it was that tough that I've literally applied for over 100 jobs as a graduate. And I think that it is tough. And you're coming back to your point saying that, sometimes you find it frustrating that, candidates don't really ask you that question. I think that we're in a very tough job market right now. So people are that desperate to actually just get a job that they wouldn't want to ask you questions and jeopardize, their chances of getting the job, because they'd rather get the job and work for a difficult boss, than to be unemployed. I suppose maybe at your level it would probably be people that are quite senior as well, and in those cases you are able to be a bit more picky, and you're not necessarily sitting unemployed. So I do think that those are very important questions, because it is a relationship. When you're entering into a relationship with the company, and you're entering into the relationship with the manager that you're going to be reporting into. So you need to find out whether there's chemistry or not, and whether your values are aligned, because that will indicate the type of experience you're going to have at that company. But coming back, yes.
I just want to ask you another question. Now that COVID-19 has really shown us that job security is not actually that secure. It's actually quite a concept that we sort of have created ourselves. How does that impact on how you approach your business in terms of career coaching? I'll call it career coaching, just as a broad term. And how do you approach that in this kind of situation?
So I had quite a few clients, firstly, and most of them were in Cape Town. So obviously, I was meeting up with them, and now it's with this whole COVID thing as well. It's sort of obviously you can't do the whole face-to-face, and from a business perspective, just learning to embrace online platforms and finding ways and means to sort of still connect with people without having to see them face-to-face. And then what that also helped in my business is that obviously now I have a far wider reach. I have a client as well that's situated in Durban, and have people in Johannesburg also contacting me. And I think that now more than ever, it's actually I think people are starting to realize that they need to get these CVs in order. They need to actually find out what that edge is in order to get skills, because companies are unfortunately with this whole COVID thing, like the economy is contracting, and so a lot of companies are struggling, and a lot of people are in danger of losing their jobs. And so a lot of people, so in terms of being able to assist, and I think that that's great, because it's now I'm able to be like a lifeline to people that are struggling, or that do feel helpless, or that are applying for jobs but just not getting callbacks, or going for an interview and wondering like why they didn't get a call, or why they weren't successful for the role. So at least I'm able to provide that kind of assistance to them. And it is tough. I mean, it's a tough time to be in the job market. It's a tough time to even start your business, and but I do believe that it's a phase, and we are all learning as we're going, and that it will get better. It's not something, COVID is not here to stay, and so you shouldn't, like I say, you don't define yourself by your past, but you need to sort of try and look forward and find ways in which you can work around with the challenges. Even in terms of, for my business as well, what has been challenging was, I told you, I also do I love doing motivational talks and speaking to people and even students and women that are starting their own businesses as well, and that sort of with the whole COVID coming on board, that's also sort of put a bit of a halt on those kinds of things. And I love actually being interacting with people face to face, but it's also gotten me thinking about, okay, maybe I should be doing online sessions, maybe I should be doing video stuff like that. So it is actually, I think the key for all business people out there as well is to be agile and to not be rigid and fixed in your ways, because then you're just basically going to feel sorry for yourself and sit in a little corner and be like, okay, this COVID thing happened, there's nothing I can do. There's always something you can do.
On the flip side of that, I am a coach, a life coach and business strategist, and I focus on female entrepreneurs and those wanting to start a business as well. I'm actually you've recently joined my group called Self Empowerment with Suzanne. That's where we have it's a group supporting female entrepreneurs. I started it way before COVID. Now we focus on strategies and structures and the mindset to actually just take your business to the next level. And even during COVID, people have actually grown their businesses instead of falling down in a heap. I have group coaching programs, I have individual coaching programs. So those people who are depressed by the job search and those things, hop on over to Self Empowerment with Suzanne and let's get you motivated to actually start your own business. Because the one thing that we have all learned through this period is that the financial control is actually your control. Whether you earn a salary, whether you run your own business or not, it's actually your control. And how you control how you earn your money is up to you. So we need to support each other in those things. I'm not saying jobs are not necessary. Some people prefer working for a boss because they just don't have the entrepreneurial mindset, but it can be acquired. And in this time, I think it is more necessary that people explore opportunities outside of the formal job market, given our high unemployment, given the retrenchment. But really, it is a personal choice. It really is a personal choice.
And I'd also like to add to that and to say that, you're saying some people might not have the entrepreneurial mindset and, some people prefer the 9 to 5. But why not both? Because that's what I'm doing. I have many things going on, and I think that it's okay to do that. And and as much as I like what I do, as an HR professional, and I do learn a lot, and I'm also lucky to have very managers that are very supportive and very they really do stretch me. But it doesn't mean that your job needs to be your passion. You can always do your passion in addition to your job. Like the job might be there to pay your bills, but your passion or your side business can be, or your passion project could be something that you do in addition to that. And to be honest, and I'll tell you, like initially when I just had my job, I used to come home and feel very exhausted and demotivated and tired. And at that point in time, I didn't think that I could. Like I felt like I'm always exhausted. There's no ways that I could actually do more, or start a business. And I didn't see myself as an entrepreneur, to be quite honest, as well. But I think that there was a realization that that you can do your job and doesn't need to be, and that can be there to pay the bills, but you can actually do more than that. And that's where I just decided to start. And I didn't see myself as an entrepreneur at all when I started my HR business. I started it out of a need to want to do more and to help people and to feel useful. And the irony, and this is something that I actually want the viewers to actually realize, is that when I started, and I first made excuses. I was first like, no, I'll wait till my website is up and running. No, let me first get the digital marketing skills course out of the way. And then I went for it. I actually gave a talk to women at this seminar. It was women starting their own businesses, and I said, yes, I have these plans, and it's up and running. It's just not up yet. And then I just thought to myself, I literally left that conversation, that workshop, and I thought to myself, but then what's stopping me? I'm telling them not to start, but what's stopping me? Like, it's so what if I don't have my website sorted out? That same day, I started my page, not expecting, sort of things to sort of escalate, and they did. And I just found that I'm learning as I'm going. So I'm becoming an entrepreneur. I don't decide first I'm an entrepreneur and then I start the business. I start the business, and then sort of all of these skills start to
And yeah, I also want to
Mm-hmm.
add on to what you're saying about your passion.
Yes.
I always ask people come and ask me, I want to start a business, what do you suggest? And
Mm-hmm.
then I have always responded to that question by saying, what are you passionate about?
Mm-hmm.
What are your interests? And let's look at how we can monetize those things. And people, and I mean, you're a perfect example of viewers and followers who don't understand why I asked that question. This is a perfect example of that. Your passion can be monetized. It does not have to be, it's not the traditional job thing. My passion is empowering women. I started
Mm-hmm.
this show pretty much like you did.
Mm-hmm.
I had no, in the same fashion, I had no ambition to start a show. All I
Yes.
knew is that I wanted to provide women with a platform. I wanted to showcase women and empowering women and show ordinary women that they can do
Mm-hmm.
extraordinary things. That was my main aim. I had no clue as to what it's going to look like, what it's going to do that, and the
Yes.
show's actually evolving. I mean, we're on episode 8 now, and I started this during the height of COVID lockdown.
Mm-hmm.
And I quite enjoy it. It brings me into contact with people like you and other people who view. So, and we get to interact in my group and in my coaching programs. So it starts just with you have an idea.
Yes.
And I think, your experience is very relevant in terms of you had an idea and you just went for it. And it's good because when I also have those talks, I think practice what you preach, Suzanne, and then you go through it because it actually works. It actually works. So you have the HR business, and please now I'm going to ask you to tell us a little bit more about the book club with the orphanages, because I like the fact that while you have your economic passions, you also balance it out with social needs and how you came to do that.
Yeah, I think honestly, I think that even my business with, is actually linked and connected to the whole book club as well. I see it as they're very much linked because the whole aim of my business is helping people and uplifting and educating people, right? And so even with the children's home as well, like that is it's all about uplifting, educating people, and I think where it stems from, I think my mother was also that, she was a nurse before she got married as well. And she was always passionate about, doing these outreach programs as well. And I think I sort of learned it from her. And my sister and I are both the same with that as well. My sister is also quite involved. When she had the time, she's a doctor now, so she's busy fighting COVID right now. So she doesn't really have much time for anything else. But what I think this whole passion around educating people and kids specifically came around because I understood that I needed to get educated in order to get out of my own situation. And so that's the type of message that I feel almost like a responsibility to give to other people. And I think that when you do these outreach programs, it's not, you're not only giving, you're also getting quite a lot from it. I think I also think that it's funny. You can, people do outreach programs for different reasons. And, some people do it because they want to show others, and other people do it because, it's going to look good on their CV, or they have this particular image that they're trying to portray, and this sort of coincides with that. And I think there's different reasons why you do it, and you know what, it's fine, because at the end of the day, other people are benefiting from it. That so whether you're doing it to show other people or not, I actually don't see like an issue with it, because at the end of the day, you're helping people that are in a situation where they actually need help. But for me specifically, I think that the reason why I I went into this and specifically dealing with children and education was because I understood the value of education and knowledge. And also, I think that I feel like a lot of the children I've dealt with don't necessarily understand that value and sometimes sort of expect things to happen for them or expect things to be handed down on a silver platter. And I think that that's something that I've also sort of tried to get, sort of challenge that notion and make them see that, that you need to actually work hard and that there are ways to do that and that you can get out of that situation. And I think it's just wanting to feel like I'm useful and I'm doing something and I'm making a difference. So before I had the business, this was my way of feeling like I'm actually being useful and feeling that I'm doing something out there that's bigger than me, bigger than my job.
Well, I think you've proven that. Now, the last bit that you must tell us about is the travel, the triptease. Because you have quite interesting complementary interests, and you've turned all of them into sort of activities that inspire and motivate. So I'd really love to hear a little bit about that as we get into the last couple of minutes of the show.
Okay, so triptease travel started when I was on my way to Milan. Like I remember I was sitting in a plane, flying up to Milan, and I was super excited. It was my second time going to Milan, and I just thought I was so excited the last time. I learned so many things, like it's really like, I found Italy to be like a very magical place, and I felt like I really wanted to share that with other people, like, because it really brought about feelings of happiness and joy and magic, and I wanted to share that, and I thought, like, what would be the best way to share that with people, and then that's where I started my Instagram page, because I love taking photos. I absolutely love taking photos. I think I come back with 1,000 pictures every time.
Oh, wow.
Like, I'm not even joking. And it will be taking like pictures. I also like cats. So a lot of it is taking pictures of stray cats in foreign cities and stuff. But it's not only about cats. Whenever I see something that I find weird or I find extraordinary, then I'll take a picture of it. So what I like about traveling the world is just that I think it really opens your mind and it really makes you see the world differently, and it actually makes you understand how it's sort of.
My friend Natasha says, "I'm here, Susie Q." Hi, Susie Q is one of my nicknames. So we'll see. It's wonderful to have you, Dash. No, that's awesome. We would definitely please post your links for me or send them to me so that I can post them beneath the picture between this episode, and also I will post them on my YouTube channel. Yeah, for the viewers who don't know, I've migrated to YouTube now, so you will find all these episodes once they are completed on Facebook. I also upload them to the YouTube channel so you can catch up. They are on look for Self-Empowerment with Suzanne. I only did that on Wednesday, I think it was. So for now, I think I only have 2 subscribers. My daughter and someone else. So it will be great if you guys can subscribe and catch up with the previous episodes that we have shot. Loobna, it's almost an hour that we've been chatting, and it feels like 5 minutes. It doesn't actually feel like an hour. I want
things that I wanted to tell you.
I know. But we'll definitely do another one. What I do want to encourage people is that based on what you've said and your own experiences, just from where are you at now? We tease about the Cape Flats. Are you still in Cape Town? Because I'm living in Pretoria. I've gotten very far away from the Cape Flats.
Yeah.
And I've traveled to most cities in the world. Like you, I love traveling. The only continent I haven't been to right now in my life is South America. So that's on my bucket list. But taken from where you are, where you started, where are you now? You still in Cape Town? How can people reach out to you? Obviously, other than Facebook and your website, how do people reach out to you? How do they make contact?
Yes, so yeah, I'm still situated in Cape Town. I live in the southern suburbs still. I am available. I'm very responsive as well. I'm available um, on my Facebook, Instagram page, my website, all of those. My email address, also email. I am very responsive. If people want to get in touch, if people want, that kind of motivation as well, I am there. And I'm very happy to chat. I'm always, I talk too much, so it's been all time with that. So I'm always happy to have these kinds of conversations with people as well. I'll give you my the links to my pages as well, and I'm contactable on there.
Okay, that is so great. Let me just check. We looked at Charmaine said I flashed it up. I don't know if you could see it. What an inspiration and well done, Loobna. You are making a real difference in the world. Thank you. And I echo that, Charmaine. We have definitely Loobna is quite an ordinary young lady doing extraordinary stuff. I don't know if that is true. Ada says, thank you for the insight and motivation from you, Loobna. Looking forward to following you. Ada, she's also in the group. She's one of the members of Self Empowerment with Suzanne, so that will be great. Raisa says, very inspiring, Loobna. Well done. And from my side, thank you so much for coming on the show. It's been very brave. I reached out on Facebook, and I think we clicked immediately. I love chatting to you, and I look forward to doing some more projects with you. Because I think we should continue this conversation in different ways. But thank you for the viewers. Thank you for tuning in. This was our Youth Day edition. For those of you who didn't know at the beginning, I said Loobna was born in the year that I actually started grade 1. So you can imagine that's an amazing thing, that we can sit here and we can actually chat to each other. We're from same geographical area, very different lives, but we connected almost immediately. So we will follow your journey. We will.
It's just the beginning, I can tell you.
No, this is definitely just the beginning. So we will be there. But for now, we're going to say goodbye. Thank you for everybody who tuned in and watched us. We thoroughly enjoyed having you along, and I hope that you enjoyed the conversation. Next week, I shall be talking to a lady who will be talking to us about losing her baby at 5 months old. And how she has learned and grown from that. She is very willing to share her story. So please tune in. I will be posting about it. And if you didn't catch the show live, you can watch it here on Facebook, or you can go and watch it on our YouTube channel. But for now, have a wonderful Youth Day, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye. Thank you so much.